All right, Nick, let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys have a new head coach. They're getting some coordinators in, and now they're trying to fill out this staff. And there's another couple of great hires by the Dallas Cowboys we're going to highlight today. But before we get into that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, some great hires for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's jump on into it. We'll get into the stories and then we'll talk about our thoughts on it on the other side. This first one is from over on NBC Sports. It says the Cowboys may getting close to hiring an offensive coordinator after hiring a defensive coordinator and a special teams coordinator earlier this week. Cowboys executive vice president Stephen Jones indicated the team is nearing to end its search. And to that end, the Cowboys interviewed Cardinals offensive line coach Clayton Adams for the job on Tuesday. Connor Orr of MMQB reported this. And secondly, we go into a tweet from on X from @NickHarris. It says, from talking to some folks, there's a healthy amount of excitement around the new Cowboys defensive line coach, Aaron Whitecotton. His influence paired with Eberflus should allow for a fun complementary unit between the front and the secondary. Article goes on to talk about the great job they did with the New York Jets defensive line and the ability for them to really kind of highlight some free agent moves for Dallas going forward as well. I think these are two phenomenal hires for the Cowboys. I'm curious what your thoughts on this one are, Nick. But before we get to you, Cowboys fans, in the comment section below, I just talked about like 6 coaches potentially hired by the Cowboys all throughout this story. Let us know in the comment section below. Who do you like the best out of all these hires? Is it the head coach, offensive, defensive, special team coordinators, D-line coach? A lot of options there. But let us know who's your favorite hire the Cowboys have made so far. Let us know in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what are your thoughts on these latest moves by the Cowboys?
Well, it's not just the coaches, right? It's recently been reported that they signed Vice President Will McClay. Of course, he's kind of the mastermind of the drafting and football operations there. He doesn't get the credit he deserves outside of Cowboy fandom. They extended him. His contract was up. That didn't get a lot of fanfare, which again is what you're starting to see with the Cowboys, and it's kind of a welcome change. The Cowboys are quietly making a lot of really good, solid, just smart football moves. And it's weird to say that when you still have the Joneses running in charge, where they always seem to be more focused on getting the drama, getting the headlines, not so much focused on what's good for football. And if you look at Schottenheimer, for example, look, you can critique the hire a million different ways, but since he came on board, you look at the press conference, you look at how he handled himself, interviews, what's he's talking about strategy, wants to run the ball, play action, shifts, motion, all that kind of stuff. Players come out, love him, they go out and support him in force. It looks really good. It's not a sexy hire, right? They dumped it on like a Friday night. Like it wasn't a headline grabbing thing. Everyone thought the Cowboys would get a big name or at least trying to steal some thunder from the Eagles or Washington. Didn't happen. Quiet move, football move. Eberflus, great football move. You look at White Cotton, great football move. Clayton Adams, they bring him into the fold. It's a great football move. Otherwise, it's just a phenomenal interview. We're seeing just a lot of great strategy here across the board from the Dallas Cowboys. It's just solid, steady, boring, quality football moves. And I think that's what Schottenheimer is bringing. And I think that sort of change here is probably exactly what Dallas needed. It's probably the first time, even since Jason Garrett was incredibly boring as a person, but all the moves they made around Garrett were the exact opposite, right? There's still a lot of holdover from those Wade Phillips eras with kind of the chaos there. You, of course, had Des Bryant. It was kind of a loud, feisty team. We're seeing a Cowboys generation shift now as we get to 2025 and beyond. They're kind of quiet. They're kind of workmanlike. They've kind of been there before. They're kind of scrappy, right? You look at a guy like Eberflus, he's upset. You look at a guy like Schottenheimer becoming head coach very late in the game. Their special teams coordinator, Nick Sorensen, they just brought him over from the San Francisco 49ers. He was fired as their DC. I love that hire. Some intel on San Francisco. You got a special teams guy in Sorensen as a player with a defensive background. Another good football hire, another smart move. Again, you just got a bunch of scrappy guys, a bunch of coaches that are just have a chip on their shoulder, bringing it to a team that needs to have that energy and that mentality. Good football moves. It's not sexy names. It doesn't grab the headlines. It's not Deion Sanders. It's not Bill Parcells, right? Heck, it ain't even Mike McCarthy. But it's just good football moves. It doesn't make people talk on ESPN for 4 or 5 hours. And be honest, I'm okay with that. This is just sound strategy for the Dallas Cowboys for the first time in a very long time. And look, we got a long offseason to go. Have to see what they do in free agency. We'll have to see how the draft shakes out. But so far, in just the last week or so, we're seeing a clear shift with this Cowboys organization. And I think it started with Schottenheimer, to be totally honest. We're going to change from drama, headlines, talk about all us all the time, primetime discussion, to under the radar, not really paying attention, good solid football moves. And that, fellas, is a great sign for the future of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, Nick, and I think, like you said, the way you describe it to me, this is somewhat of like a Detroit Lions move for the Cowboys as far as like that Dan Campbell esque type of guys. Just gritty football guys, X's and O's, nose to the grindstone, not real too flashy, but with the caveat the Cowboys have a much better team, much better players than the Lions did when Campbell came into that situation. So this should be a much accelerated game plan for the Cowboys with this style of coaching staff because you got such great guys across the offensive line. There's really some good players there. Prescott, veteran quarterback, really great there. You got CeeDee Lamb, great playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, everyone knows they got great playmakers on the defensive side of the ball and guys like Lawrence and Parsons, Kendricks, got Diggs. Really just a great bevy of weapons all around the ball if they can get put to their potential. And now they're going to have coaches who are going to be focused on those core fundamentals, X's and O's, getting the team right, making sure the play is dialed in, like you said, less focus on headlines, less focus on flash. I think this is exactly what the Dallas Cowboys have needed. They've gotten plenty of media coverage in the last, decade, 2 decades. But I think they can back off a little bit, be a little bit more boring, and focus on the play on the field. I think it's going to be a welcome change for the Cowboys fans. See this team focus on the football side of things, and it really seems like these moves indicate that's what they're doing.